Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we have a top 16 breakdown for the Versus Games test regionals that happened in person in Florida this past weekend. It was just under 400 players with this top 16 that we see here today, and a couple things before we get started. First, if you guys do like these videos, please make sure to hit that like and subscribe. It does help the channel a lot, and I really do appreciate it. And then also shouts to Versus Gaming for providing the deck list as well as doing the live stream for this event too. It was really great to see them and their team do the coverage for this event, and you can check it out on Twitch right now as well as on their YouTube starting Tuesday this week, so in the next couple days. So should be really accessible, and I really do appreciate all their hard work for this event in general. So jumping on into it though, again, we do have 384 players, 8 rounds of Swiss best of 1 for this one, and in this top 16 we see 8 whole Katakuri or Sakazukis, which is half of this top 16, as well as 2 copies of Katakuri, 2 Morias, 2 ST13 Luffys, which again was legal for this event, 1 Yamato from OP06, as well as 1 copy of Edward Newgate. So honestly, when we started this meta back in March, and we're at the end of April at this point, Sakazuki was getting like some tops. It wasn't doing like super well, wasn't winning either, but now kind of in this end state of OP06, even as we're getting to Stardec 13, it's been doing very, very well. And I don't know if it's just people getting more accustomed to how the game works, or the meta works, or how Sakazuki works against some of these decks as well. But it's just been at a really, really good spot. So I kind of remember at the beginning of March, a lot of people were like, oh, why are we banning this leader? It's not even topping. And now if we look at the results for the last couple of weeks, it's been doing very, very well. So I think this is like the first time it's been 50% of this pie chart in a minute, and it's just in a really intimidating point too. So, but we're going to go over the top placing list for each one of these leaders. Going to start off with their first place list as well, which is Ethan's version of Sakazuki. So again, you do note that I did kind of categorize it by if they're using the stage build or not. We have 3 versions that were using the stage build, and then we also have Ethan's build here, which does not have it, which I think is fine for the deck. We've been seeing pretty much variants of this build with a couple cards that have like some variant spots. We don't see Borsalino in this build, which is I think pretty unique. We also do see Jonas got 7th place with the same build also, I do want to note, but yeah, I think Borsalino is a weird card that has been seeing less and less play, even though stuff like Gecko Moria doesn't really have a clean way to get rid of that card. Sabo might just be the better card in that way, especially since Rebecca is just stronger in a lot of matchups too. The only thing that like the mirror match, like Rebecca is just as good as Borsalino because they're going to bottom deck it with Ama or with the Hound Blaze. 4-drop blockers that are going to get hit by Amaru with yellow as well. So just taking it out in general, I think is a bold play, but definitely has been working for a lot of people. So it does give you a little bit more room for some additional cards and just a little bit more consistency, and just definitely worked out for that. Other than that, I don't really have much more to say. I think we've been seeing a lot of Sakazuki, and we're going to probably continue for the next couple of weeks until it is banned at the release of OP07 too. So I don't have much more to say, but congratulations to Ethan for their finish there. Next up, we have Katakuri. So this is Gary's version of it here. And again, this deck is also pretty linear. I will say like Katakuri, Sakazuki, and Moria, we're not going to see a lot of variants. They are pretty known in a lot of capacities for what the decks look like. I'm not even going to joke, like I feel like I've seen this exact 50 several times at this point. Like the variance for Katakuri is additionally very, very low for what your tech choices are. We do have 3 copies of the 7-drop Linlin. We have the 1-drop, 1 of the 8 cost Katakuri. We have 4 of the Charlotte Linlin. We have some blockers that can come out of life with the Sanji, as well as the Brule, both which can be found off the pudding. We have our Parasparrows, and then also the Kikunojos, which again, if you're able to establish these early, are very, very obnoxious. So 2 copies of the You're the One Who Should Disappear, 2 copies of Amaru, as well as 3 copies of Reject. Just a good card, which again is going to be hit, as well as Sakazuki at the beginning of OP07. So I don't really have much more to say. Katakuri has been in a good spot. It is a little bit luck based, and I know like that's kind of like the thing for it, but I do think that you have to pilot it to either mitigate your luck or put yourself into positions where you're benefiting by good luck too, to really kind of drive home a win too. So this is Gary's list, and congratulations to their finish there. Next up, we have Yamato. So this is Konnor's version of the deck, and Yamato's I think been doing a little bit better on this back half. It's been kind of a little bit tricky to consistently top with this. I think it's a deck that I think a lot of people people are on, but like there's a lot of different builds, and for a deck that's meta viable right now, I think it's the one that has the most open-ended deck building, which is really, really interesting and very cool. So this one's a little bit more, I would say, like an aggressive build. And the reason I say that is that we have a good amount of cards that rest. So we have 2 of the sugars, 4 of the 3-drop Izos, as well as the Paradise Tosuska, which lets us just rest a 4 or less. So again, Sakazuki and Borsalino get the rest there, which is pretty nice. We don't have a way to get a rest on Saba, though, unfortunately, outside of using Hody Jones, but this has still just been a really great end card for Yamato. And if your opponent's being like really defensive and value not really hitting your life, sometimes you can just play Hody on curve and you really aren't afraid of losing after taking that 1 life too, since it does go to hand and it's helpful. And sometimes you need to get down to 1 so you can use your Amaru if your opponent leaves you at 2. So other than that, I think the deck is strong. It is interesting that we're using a Nell instead of Ace. I think Ace is still like a better card for this deck compared to Nell, just because it's like for 5 Dawn, you get to become a 7k rush. You get down to 2 life pretty easy in this build, and Nell, I don't think we're playing this on curve as much to. At least to the builds I've been playing, I don't feel like it's as good, but obviously you got top 4 with this build, so I don't know what I'm talking about for it, but I think the deck's very strong. It's very aggressive, and because there's so much room for like tech options and stuff, sometimes your opponent doesn't know what specifically you're playing, and that really benefits you as the Yamato player. So, and also like the Mihawk into the Cracker, or the Nakamamushi, or the Kikonojo, all of those are very good cards to get off the Mihawk too if you need to it. So, don't have really much more to say, but congratulations to Konnor for their finish there. Next up, we have Gecko Moria, which this is Chris's build of it here. And Chris has been on quite the tear in this meta. He's gotten a lot of tops in the last couple events, and this is another one for him on his world tour, at least maybe North American tour for this meta as well. Not much to really say. I know there's been a couple different builds of Moria recently that's using like Rebecca and Hina, and I do kind of like that personally. It does make the mirror match a little bit easier because Hina, especially if you end up going second, Hina into your Absalom lets you put 2 bodies on the board as well as get rid of one of your opponent's cards for only 6 Dawn, which is really good. So I think that's helpful for those matches, but other than that, the deck is in a really good spot. We do have to play Borsalinos and Sabas in this build too. Borsalino, I think more importantly, you do need, since Rebecca's not as strong without having a 2-cost removal card in this deck comparatively, since, Gecko Moria, Rebecca into Houndblaze is still such a strong combo for Sakazuki. We kind of get like a middling version of that, but we do have the trade-off that Moria is more searchable and findable in this deck, and we're just kind of more about that tempo. So I don't really have much more to say about this deck. I feel like I've seen this exact 50 a couple times, but that doesn't mean you don't need some skill to play it, and congratulations to Chris for their finish there. Next up, we have our Newgate here. So this is Trevor's version of the deck, and Newgate's been doing pretty good these last couple weeks, at least pretty good in comparison. He's been getting some average, I think, 1 top 16 over the last 5 or 6 events, something about that. So he's not a stranger to just showing up intermittently in the last couple weeks. There's not much to say about him. I think the newest tech for this version is the Shariah, which is good in a lot of decks. I feel like it's weird to play this blocker when you're naturally a 6k leader too, because your opponent's going to have to get around it, but being able to have this blocker that you can low commitment play out, and then additionally be able to like attack big with it later if you need to, I think that's very strong. Obviously, it's really good against like Black Yellow Luffy, which I think is really present right now too. There's no protection with this blocker, which is a little bit rough for it, but I think there are some really good ways to, if you have nothing better to do on turn 3 Dawn, which generally Newgate doesn't have a great play anyways, being able to just plop this guy out and then be able to turn it more aggressive later in the game, I think is really rewarding too. So I don't really have much more to say about Newgate. It's been clearly like it's like 1 year of Newgate at this point. It's been out for a while. The idea of it's kind of shifted a little bit throughout the last couple of formats, but again, being a 6k leader that can continually attack as a 6k and all the pressure you get off your red rush cards, as well as like your ace and 9-drop Newgate, is just very strong. So I don't have really much more to say, but congratulations to Trevor for their finish there. And then to end it up, we do have 2 copies of Star Deck 13 Luffy, which is the new deck on the block. We do have Eric and Raymond's version of it here. I would say that the version from Eric is a little bit more unique. The kind of base for this deck is understood just because we are so inclined to run all three of the brothers. And this is kind of the ratios that we're seeing right now in the pre-EBO 1. There's a lot more cards that we can add to this deck, mostly just the Charlotte Flampe. But being able to have like a couple copies of Sabo, this one being able to get the removal is nice, as well as if we need to go down to 0 life with this, it's good for that. And then also we do have the Emporio, which is a bit of a unique add from the builds that I've been seeing. It does come in Starter Deck 13, and it is not only a blocker, but also is a card that lets you get you down to lower life, or even set up one of your 2-drops. So of the cards from this set, I don't think from the starter deck, I think it's one that's really tempting to play, because you do get that bonus synergy of not only getting a blocker, which again in Luffy we can play this Emporio, set up like a Sabo, and then play the Sabo off, which means we can get the protection on the Emporio, which means you get 2 blockers that can't be removed outside of bottom decking, which is pretty strong against a lot of matchups. So I don't really have much more to say. I think Moria is also great in this deck, being able to recycle your 2-drops. The Tendon play from this deck is very strong, and again, in most decks that don't have any bottom decking, they have a hard time getting around it. So I don't really have much more to say on that one, but congratulations, Eric, on their build. And then real quick, the kind of difference here for Trevor's build, or sorry, for Raymond's build, my apology, is the inclusion of the 6-drop Newgate instead of essentially the 3-cost Emporio. So this card is also pretty strong. We've been seeing it in like a Nell occasionally as well, but the on-play at the top card of your deck to your life, then look at the top of all of your life, place one of them on top of your deck, and return the remaining in any order. So this will let you quote-unquote heal as the leader effect, because the any of your top deck cards or your face-up cards have to go to the bottom of your deck instead of to your hand when you take them. So because of that, you can kind of rearrange them, not only like set up one card into your life and put it from the top of your deck into your life face down, so you get to draw it later and you get that heal, but also just the being able to rearrange it and kind of go from there. So it's an interesting card. It's a 6-drop 7k, so it's a little bit hard to remove, and a 7k body attacking is nice. I haven't seen it in Star Deck Luffy as much compared to other decks, but I do see the potential for the card too. So this is Raymond's build for it there, and that's going to be it for this video. Again, thank you very much to Versus Game for providing the deck list for this so we can go over them, and I really do appreciate all they've done for this regional in general. So make sure to check them out. Links in the description for them, and also if you want any of these deck lists, they're linked on my website, Eggman Events, which you can find in the description as well. So that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.